Happy Socialist Sunday, comrades. Bit of a sketch intro there. Sorry about that. That's Phil's font. How you doing? Thanks for joining us on the Sunday live stream. I'm your humble host, Lefty. Hope you've had a good week. Thanks for seeing it out with us here on tonight's stream. Doc Davies is with us in chat. Specs Bean Farmer. Jim Speak, nice to see you. And Tim Wilton Davies as well. Solidarity, everybody. Hit thumbs up as you join us on stream. There's a poll as well, because we do have a new hot seat. That didn't take very long. Since the last one, well, the local elections, hot seats, that is. Now we've got another one in Makerfield. But how do you think it'll go? Do you think Andy Burnham can swing it if he's selected? Do you think it could be the reformplc.co.uk/recycle Tories candidate who made significant gains in the locals? I'll be going over the hot seats in more detail through the stream. But the Green Party have announced that they'll be seating a candidate. Do you think they could have a surprise victory? Also, even though it's slightly swooped under the radar as well, apparently Rupert Lowe's Restore have said that they're going to be standing as well. As we'll see how that goes. Let us know what you think in the poll. Currently, most of you are going for Burnham, but very early days in the poll. that will run to the end of the stream. Graham Turner, Solidarity, thank you very much for joining us. Nice to see you, as always. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, they thems alike, let's just get up to speed with a few things. Anybody who's been watching the last couple of live streams back recently, apologies, we've had to trim a couple of very short segments out, i.e. The Postman Swat intro/outro video. That's due to, fortunately, a copyright thing, but don't worry, that doesn't mean it's the end of the segment. We have our ways here at My Left Eye. It might not be the last you'll be seeing of Postman Swat. Okay, people. We'll get into the lounge in a few moments. Just got a few procedural matters to get through, of course, which includes introducing Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics, of course. The background jazz quartet. Nice to see you. That's your weekly jazz fix for your chill Sunday stream. Usually chill, depending on the content, how much it pisses us off, I guess. Stanley Beckett's with us in chat, as well as Edward Sexby. A good question. I will go on to that, actually. Just a reminder as well, I've already put out a video about this earlier in the week. Do check that out. Give it some hype points as well. Hit thumbs up on your mobile device. Then hit the hype button. I will go through what I think about Burnham's chances, the Green Party's chances, and so on and so forth. It's a very swift return to hot seats. As I said, quicker than I'd imagined. I think I did say at the time, it could be a while, and here we are. Just literally a couple of weeks later. I'm just dealing with some buffering issues at my end. I hope it's okay down yours, as it were. Bear with me, people. Should be a lot better now. Yes, it's just there's so much quality content rammed into the broadcast software, it gets a bit overwhelmed sometimes. So, whoa, I'm not used to this kind of quality streaming. Well, you're going to have to learn to cope with it. Broadcast software. Graham, good on you for going to the march yesterday. That's awesome stuff. As I said on the last stream, unfortunately we couldn't get down there ourselves. I do know quite a few people who went though, including yourself now as well. So yeah, I'm glad it felt great to be involved, as you say, and that's no wonder, of course. The march did massively outweigh the other demo, which it was a counter-protest to, that is. The so-called Unite the Kingdom, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, Tommy 10 Names march. Very poor efforts on their part as well, which I'll be going into on stream. So solidarity. Good on you, comrade. Good to see a lot of support as well in the chat. Speaking of support, shout out to all the current members on the channel. This is the new, revised, fresh, hot off the press list. So thank you very much. If you can see your names on screen there, it's just 99p if you want to join this list of incredible people. Various perks, including early viewing, static emojis and such. A bit of a collection of exclusive content there in the archives for you to go through as well. Plus you also get to help us grow the community as well as support the channel. Thank you very much, everybody. Super chats open on this stream as well as super stickers if you're watching live. There's the super thanks button as well if you're watching back later on, or the buy me a coffee page if you prefer, or do not have the means to help support us via YouTube. Check out the link in the description of any content on the channel. Thank you very much again to all of the members. And it's just 99 pence once again, just a fraction of the price of a tasty hot beverage, for example. Shout out to people who've gifted memberships as well as renewed. We've had a lot of people celebrating milestones of membership on the channel recently. Some people who've been with us since the very beginning as well. Thank you for renewing throughout your time as members. Thanks to Herbie and the Supersonics as well, of course, and of course Specs Bean Farmer celebrating 13 months membership. Now people, we'll dive over to the Fondue Lounge and see what's a-coming on this stream. It's one of your favourite earworms, you know it is, people. The Fondue Lounge, here we are. Yeah, shout out again to Specs Bean Farmer, 13 months. It's been awesome to have you the whole way. Solidarity. Nice to see Graham throwing up a 4-star salute to that as well. So, Keith, what are we going to do with you, eh? Here we are once again, although perhaps for an increasingly, or decreasing number of times, I should say. The Vultures circle for Keith as we speak. Leadership challenges, Andy Burnham wanting to get involved. We'll be going through quite a bit of that on stream. Help yourself to Fondue, people. Just make it quick. We try and get out as quick as possible before Margaret Hodge, who you can see on the left there, starts to launch some pretty unsavoury air biscuits into the atmosphere. It's more or less just a grab and go kind of flash visit to Keith's almost continuous Sunday Fondue Lounge parties. You might have noticed as well Peter Scandelson behind him, just to the right of that picture of Tony Blair. Mandelson, of course, we thought we'd heard the last of him for a while, but isn't West Streeting so lucky? Yes, he's actually decided to grow a pair and has come out and said he's going to be challenging Keir Starmer, but no other than Peter Scandelson himself has apparently told a lot of his wealthy friends that he endorses Streeting and he's backing him. What's the old saying? If you want to get a true measure of the leader, look at the people they have around them, and this is certainly a classic example. In this case, although a wannabe leader as Streeting is at the moment. So yes, what a quality team he's building up already. We'll also, of course, be taking a look at the marches, the disaster that was the Unite the Kingdom march, as well as the counter demonstration, of course, attended by people such as Graham Turner in the chat. Rangson as well, who's a friend of mine, also a friend of the channel, fellow activist as well. Been on a few shenanigans with my friend Rangson. He was towards the front actually and managed to get away from Jeremy Corbyn, apparently. You might also know Rangson as the revolting hippie on social media, top guy. Speaking of shout-outs, shout out to the Agitator as well, not just for this fantastic Keith's Fondue Lounge scene. This isn't one of my creations, but the Agitator. Agitate for change, that's the number 4. Agitate for change is the handle you're looking for on your Blue Sky, Twitter, whatnot. Go and check him out. He also is the creator of the Yvette Cooper test card opening that we use on Sunday Livestream. Shout out to the Agitator. Right, we'll join Keith a bit later, but that'll be it for now. Yeah, apologies again for that. It's when I move between scenes, it seems to start buffering. But that's the thing on this channel, I guess. Once we iron out one of the technical problems, another one's coming just over the horizon. But thanks for sticking it out with us during these small grievances or gremlins in the work, whatever you want to describe them as. Nina Sadie also celebrating 13 months of membership. Solidarity. Yeah, it's been excellent to have you here with us. Thanks for all of your contributions on the channel as well, in terms of comments in the chats when we on live streams and on videos. Everything that you do to support the channel, really do appreciate it. Yes, it was a quick visit to the Fondue Lounge, a lot to get through. Like I said, also we need to get out of the way before, you know, the cheese-based products start to disagree with Margaret Hodges' bowels, shall we say. Yeah. You can take it from me. You don't want to be around that. We've lingered too long in the Fondue Lounge before, and, well, I don't want to say, you know, some people got quite ill, quite terribly ill. But we move on, because we do have a opening comedy clip to get through before we go into matters, that is the marches. Clips, articles, this kind of thing.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Starting off with Jonathan Pye's take on the recent goings on in Westminster with leadership challenges, the breakdown after the local elections, Andy Burnham now looking like standing. Oh, I should have said earlier as well, of course, a couple of things have changed since the last video was out. I did speculate in the video whether Burnham would be allowed to stand at all. Obviously that question's now been answered. The National Executive Committee have come out and said that they will allow him to stand, because doing that twice in a row would just really hammer home the top-down anti-democratic structure that Labour currently has under Starmer. So they want to at least pretend that there's some element of democracy still left within the PLP and the CLP by allowing Burnham to stand. So that's the one change. Obviously, the question of streeting as well as being answered. Did call him out for sort of hinting that he'd stand and then seeming to back down in the video. But it seems that he was biding his time for a couple of reasons, which I'll go into on the stream. He is a complete piece of crap. West streeting. Yeah, I wouldn't vote for Andy Burnham either. But in Wesley's case, while he isn't the sharpest tool in the box, let's be honest, he has in fact done quite well concerning the timing. Not that I'm endorsing him, it's just as an observation, but you can see why he didn't announce his intentions on Monday like everybody. A lot of people were speculating that he would, and then he just resigned, and people thought, oh well, that's as far as he's going to go in terms of trying to put pressure on Keith. More on that to come. I don't want to yap on for too long. So yeah, here's Jonathan Pye. There's a link in the description. Remember, people, Jonathan Pye is a character as well. Top character as well. Tom, who plays him, is an awesome guy. I've seen him live. It's a great show, and I think he's still on tour at the moment, so go and book yourself some tickets. Yeah. This is his take on Labour's current conundrum.
Those who could support Angela Rayner or indeed Ed Miliband, or those firmly in Wes Streeting's camp. Thank you. Sorry, what's that? Wes Streeting's camp. Oh, yeah, very good. He's a bit camp. That's probably a hate crime. Is he camp? I mean, I guess if this all goes tits up, I can imagine him doing quite well on Strictly. You know, I think we could do with a bit of sass in number 10, a bit of an attitude. You know, might be more effective against Kemi Badenoch, who is getting fierce girl at the dispatch box, and might work quite well with Trump and his obsession with the village people. And Farage, who is, in his own way, pretty camp. You know what? I need that £5 million for my big muscly security guards. Where's Streeting, though? Really? Working class lad with a close association with Peter Mandelson and the usual list of dodgy corporate donations from private healthcare firms? Why replace Starmer with another Starmer? From beige to opaque. He looks exactly like Keir Starmer, if Keir Starmer had been dipped in candle wax. You know, why do we need another Starmer? Right, Starmer was never...
Oh, bollocks. Sorry, it's frozen here. 2 seconds, people. There we go. Sorry about that. This will improve as we go through.
Starmer, if Keir Starmer had been dipped in candle wax. You know, why do we need another Starmer? Right, Starmer was never going to give anyone a political hard-on, right? But we thought, at least, with, you know, boring and dull, we might see the end to the revolving door, the end to blatant cronyism, the end of incompetence, the end of chaos. The time for deluding ourselves with, well, at least they're better than the last lot, it's over, right? Personally, I'd like us all to aim a little bit higher than, well, this pile of shit is slightly less shitty than these other piles of shits, and, you know, think yourself lucky. On the doorstep, Starmer is electoral kryptonite, and if Labour don't turn that around, there is only one alternative for this country. I'd take a couple of months' chaos now than 5 years of a reform oligarchy later. Unfortunately, Labour are looking less and less like a government changing managers and more like a suicide cult.
Yeah, and I don't think Andy Burnham is the guy to change that. I'll go into the reasons why further. Through the stream. Nina Sadie, thanks a lot for the gifted membership there. Solidarity for that. Brody G, hope you enjoy your perks if you're watching. Let's change the membership target there. Thanks again. Can we big up Nina Sadie in the chats, please, people? Awesome stuff.
Right, all week it's been like they've triggered a leadership contest by mistake. Yeah, only Labour could wield the knife so cack-handedly. But the Tories, they're ruthless. Liz Truss, great budget.
Indeed, every little helps. Thank you very much again.
For your own good. Labour are swinging that knife around like it's a used dildo you just found in your grandma's top drawer. Oh, God, well, I don't know what to do with it. Maybe it is time for a change of management, but there's no one able to take his place. The only half-decent one isn't an MP. Burnham is the only politician in the country who polls well, so, you know, of course, Labour don't want anyone that might have a hope in hell's chance of beating reform anywhere near number 10. So, you know, Burnham's probably out. Miliband, who did it once, did it badly, and clearly has no desire to do it again, and Angela Rayner.
Yeah, I can't believe that people have still been bandying Ed Miliband's name around. I mean, just look at the results from 2010. Sorry, 2015. Yeah, just really bringing back all the dregs, and you go back to the return of Gordon Brown, Harriet Harman, things like this. They just have such a poor gene pool, such a small gene pool, and a lack of imagination. It really is strikingly bad.
Who I quite like, but Prime Minister? Seriously? Fuck off. And, you know, if this goes the way it tends to go, we could end up with some wanker from the Department of Transport that no one's ever heard of, because all the other candidates are so piss poor. So, look, they can have their arguments about who their next leader is and play out their psychodrama and turf war in front of an exhausted and disengaged public, but until they have a proper conversation about how to govern as a modern, social democratic, hopefully left-of-centre Labour Party in the age of hard-right, algorithmic politics, they will get nowhere in a world where most of us get most of our news from platforms that drives us all towards content that makes us angry, in a world where you have a United States overtly promoting the far right across Europe, where you have the richest people in the world doing everything they can to undermine our political sovereignty, with opposition parties openly welcoming Elon Musk and his money to make decisions about who will end up running the country. The time for middle management is over. Labour, they have to be bolder. They have to take the fight to reform. They have to take the fight to the electorate. They have to stand for something, have a vision, a passion, a personality, a fight. Tangible policies that connect with the country, tangible solutions to our numerous problems. When you offer no solutions, people begin to believe the lies of the right. Get your shit together, because you're supposed to be running the country. Sorry, what's that? Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we have some breaking news just coming in. Wes Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary. Presumably, this will trigger a...
The end of the world, according to Jonathan Pye. Go and check out the website. Get some tickets. Some of those venues are selling out pretty quick and have already sold out as well, so get them while they're hot, people. There's a link in the description to Jonathan Pye's YouTube. Go and subscribe to that. You'll probably find all the relevant links as well. Tom Walker, also known as Jonathan Pye. Good point, Nina. Yeah, if Burnham does end up as Prime Minister, that would be a long way down the road. There's a lot of ifs and buts to come between here and there as well. But it would be a really crappy consolation prize to those of us who voted for Corbyn. I include myself in that. Let's remind ourselves, of course, he lost overwhelmingly in the leadership contest race again, if we hark back to 2015. And they've got, oh, Miliband, so terrible, we'll have a leadership contest. And I really do think it is as though Burnham wants to drag us back to not 2015 but 2020, when Starmer was trying to pretend something he wasn't, to get into the position that he is today. But more on that to come after the first topic, the first subject on tonight's stream. The marches, and then we'll get on to the hot seats in Makerfield. Now let's see what's happening, comrades.
Socialists. Oh my god.
Now we'll sort of we'll start with the lowest of the low, I guess, and then hopefully take an upturn into the good. So we'll take a look at the so-called Unite the Kingdom march, which was a very poor effort by all accounts, apart from theirs, of course. They do claim that it was attended by millions, huge air quotes, millions of people. It was, in fact, in the small numbers of thousands, as I'm about to demonstrate and illustrate. As for the content of the march, the people who were there, the things that went on during the, again, huge air quotes, stage show that was apparently, for air quotes, entertainment. Because remember, this, of course, wasn't a racist march or a hate march, just full to the brim of Islamophobia, as well as all other kinds of xenophobia, of course, but probably most prominently and obviously Islamophobia. It wasn't about that. No. It was it was something else, something very vague about taking their country back, I think. So let's look at a few examples of what went down. The first one is actually something that we can kind of smirk at, have a bit of a laugh at, because the Raise the Colours organiser, who was arrested recently, of course, for organising the Raise the Colours thing, the Union flags that you see everywhere put up without permission, illegally, of course, breaking council bylaws across the country. But then he was spotted on the march yesterday, and apparently he's wanted in relation to an incident a few days ago, some kind of violent incident that he's alleged to be involved with. So they pulled him out of the crowd, and then he immediately went on to give some video testimony, I guess, to his fans, if you want to call them fans. But it always strikes me, the reaction from the far. There were 43 arrests yesterday over both of the marches, I believe, not just at the Unite the Kingdom demo. There were a couple, including one very ludicrous example on the counter march as well. But just going back to my original point, being someone who's been arrested several times as a political and environmental non-violent direct activist, the reaction and because they're not prepared, they don't, these far-right marches aren't trained the same way that organisations I am and have been involved with are, especially with the arrest procedure, this kind of thing. It's all a bit of a shock to them, and that's somewhat evident, but it's also, these are the same sort of people who would troll organisations like, Just Stop Oil, Youth Demand, Take Back Power, this kind of thing, online, and say things like, oh yeah, lock them up, blah blah blah, when they're trying to troll whatever action it's been. And now that happens to them, and now it's all this, and it's all like, oh, poor me, boo-hoo. Yeah, so this is Ryan Bridge.
That and a load of bail papers. I've got conditions. I can't go to Penn's Lane.
You get bail. Do you get bail conditions? Yeah, like people who weren't even allowed within the M25, for example. Yeah, bail conditions. Most recently as well. Well, the most recent thing that we were involved with, the Take Back Power protests in London. Joe, who was arrested, got bail conditions such as not being allowed to attend or be involved with any Take Back Power event whatsoever. Yeah, these kind of, bail. Did you not know you get bail conditions? Let's get out the small violins and the big tissues.
Protest. I can't go to King's Standing in Birmingham.
Oh, that's a shame.
For some reason that's in there, and I can't go to
poor fella.
I can't go into Sturchley. So the ultra far left have put statements in.
That's the ultra far left. The ultra far left, of course. You can't move in this country for anarcho-communists, can you? They're just everywhere. Yeah. It's clearly evident, of course. Ryan here knows the political spectrum, I'm sure. And most of the people who are opposed to this stupid, intimidatory Raise the Colours campaign must, of course, be anarchists, hardcore communists, anarcho-communists, that sort of combination of hard, extreme left-wing. Yeah, sure.
Fingering me at a location where an altercation's gone on and I'm clearly not there, and the camera footage shows I'm clearly not there. I
don't think you would have been arrested if that's what the footage shows.
I've told you guys at home, this isn't about race, religion, colour or creed.
It really is, and I'm going to demonstrate that very clearly in just a few moments. It was reprehensibly racist. Includes some just overwhelmingly sick as well as comedically poor examples of that. Really, God, it really insults the intelligence when they try to say, "Oh, it's not about race," when they had people literally holding up signs that said "Fuck Islam, Christ is King." Now, if you can imagine what the reaction would have been if someone might have held up a sign that says "Fuck Judaism," for example, not just on any demo, let alone a Palestine demo. What do you think the reaction from Shabana Mahmood would be? What do you think the reaction from Keir Starmer would be from the Met Police? They would be all over that, like, pardon the metaphor, but like flies over shit. They really would. Please, just don't insult our intelligence by telling us that your motivations are not racially based, because they quite clearly are. And you're just a bunch of neo-fascists, and you've been found out.
This is about what's right and wrong, and the ultra-far left,
ultra-far again,
and these anti-fascist groups, they...
If your problem is anti-fascist groups, then what does that make you? Really, just say it. Just say you're a fascist and you're proud of it. At least have the decency to do that.
We need to go after the fascists.
Such cowardice.
We're not. We raise the colours, right? And we are.
It's not about that.
We are from
Right.
multicultural...
It's not about race. It's just intimidating black and brown people by putting up union flags and trying to intimidate immigrants. Yes, that's not racist, is it?
Backgrounds, and it's nothing to do with what they think it is, yet they're tarnishing me with another brush, and they're trying to tarnish us and say that we're something we're not. And for them to try and silence me, I will not be silenced, and I will not stop, and I will not give up. Okay? And nobody at Raise the Colours will either. So you're fighting a losing battle. We've done nothing wrong. We believe in patriotism, unity, and togetherness for our country. We're proud of our...
As long as you're white.
Flag, proud of our history, proud of this man here, and guess what? We're not going to stop.
Well, did he just openly, verbally confirm an intention to break his bail conditions? That might remain to be seen. That was Ryan Quick. It's not about rice. Really? Yeah, don't buy that for a minute. Don't buy that for a microsecond. Herbie, thank you. Darren Smith, thanks for joining us in chat. Yeah, I don't have the clip of that, but that was another great stunt. Yeah, led by donkeys, managed to sneak a huge screen right into the midst of, well, not that it was a vast crowd as I'm about to show you, but managed to sneak a screen into one of it, displaying the best of British diversity. It showed a barrage of people who've achieved great things. From the ethnic diversity that we have in the country. Mo Farah, for example, winning all of his gold medals at the Olympics. Things that this country really does have to be proud about in its diversity. And they really didn't like it. They don't like it up them, do they? That was a great stunt. It really was. Yeah. JK, nice to see you. Yeah, the ultra far left. They're really, really bad, you know. It's the ultra far left. obviously, this guy wouldn't know the difference between democratic socialism and Leninism if you offered him all of the money in the world to get it right. Mr. Jared, nice to see you as well. Yeah, they really are the dregs. Really, really are. It's an embarrassment. It's shameful to say that these are your compatriots, you know. It's just that much disassociation. I've got more in common with, you know, socialists on the other side of the world than I do with these far-right idiots in this country. And I'm not the one being hyperbolic about the terms, because they are far-right. They are, you know, beyond neoliberal, far to the right of neoliberal. They're neo-fascist. It's ticking all the boxes as far as the conditions, the qualities, the characteristics that are required to define fascism, and they tick every single one of them. Yeah, the populism, the nationalism, the blaming of minorities for the country's problems, the often common appropriation or obsession with a religion and therefore religious superiority or a sense thereof, as well as, of course, racial superiority. Yeah, they tick all of the boxes, these bastards. But just look at this, bearing in mind they did try to convince people that there were millions of people there. In fact, went so far as, was it a Shakira? They started to post pictures of a crowd from a Shakira concert, claiming that it was the crowd that they garnered yesterday, but no, it was in fact just this. And you do have to sort of zoom in now. This is an area that I'm obviously more than familiar with. I've been arrested in Parliament Square. I've been to lots of marches that go through and begin and or end at Parliament Square. So I'm very familiar with the dimensions, and I can tell you that this is not 1 million people. This is not 100,000 people. This might barely be a few thousand or so, because this is it. You can see the stage there, the people in front, and it barely spills into the road. Now, for comparison, the last demonstration proper that I was at Parliament Square was probably the Defend Our Juries one. That was last year, and last summer, spring, about this time last year. And there were around 800-900 or so arrests. That did fill up most of the lawn there. So you're not talking about 6 figures. That's for definite. Yeah. Because that's the real picture. And what were they there to see? These not million people. By the way, the estimated size of the counter-protest was at least 250,000. Let's have a look at what was going down on stage, because it really beggars belief, to be quite frank. And remember what Ryan Quick said, what Yaxley Lennon will try and tell you, you know, that this isn't about race, and so on and so forth. But look at look at this. Might seem quite ordinary at first glance. You might see there's a man there with a cello. It's an electric cello, of course, not a proper one. But pay attention to the collar, the cuff of the collar there. You might see something strange. It's not like he was wearing braces and they've snapped. No. You can't quite see the other one because the neck of the cello is breaking it. But one of them, let's be honest, most of the people in the crowd probably aren't into classical music or know a good cellist when they hear one, let's be honest. But what's this on his shoulder? It's actually streaks of bacon. Yeah, I'm not even joking. This is what they think is a joke, is a laugh. You know, it'll be funny, and then it'll go out on the stage, and because they don't like bacon, do they? La la la. It's really the most petty yet revolting thing that you're ever going to see. And yeah. I don't know what else to say. As well as also, there's another layer of irony to this. If you look at the cellist himself, it certainly does seem to be, at least from parts, Oriental descent as well. And there's a sort of continuing theme to this, and it's just like, what is this supposed to do? Is this what they think will make people stop marching to end a genocide? Do you think this will make people stop supporting Palestine? Is this... It's just really... I'm beyond words. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But it arguably got worse. Arguably much worse. And again, remember, this isn't about race, you know, it's just about equality. As Ryan Quick said. This speaks for itself. I will play this without introduction, I guess. But just bear that in mind. Fuck me. Yeah. Look, this trio, which is supposedly a music act, revving up the crowd here. Can't actually hear this in my monitors. Just give me a second. The headphones, that is. Yeah, but they come out in hijabs, of course. It's nothing to do with rice. Yeah, and again, this is their idea of a joke. They think this is a laugh. This is all fair game. Yeah, if similar to the cellist, if this had happened at a pro-Palestine demonstration, perhaps a trio coming out in Orthodox Jewish attire, what do you think the reaction would be? Or if they came out draped in non-kosher food, what would the backlash be? And again, they think this is funny, this is just a bit of fun, and this isn't obvious racism, obvious fascism, obvious race baiting. Yeah, and again, as far as I'm aware, these three ladies aren't British. One of them, I think it's the one in the middle. I don't know the names of these three idiots, but someone pulled up a clip of an interview with them from a couple of years ago, or so ago. You could tell, obviously, from the accent that they're not British citizens. In fact, it's, yeah, so far, 0 for 0 on homegrown contents and entertainment. If you want, I won't even describe, this isn't entertainment. This doesn't fall into that category whatsoever. This is just reprehensible racism.
Hello, London!
Why don't you fucking go back where you fucking came from? We're not going to get any of that from the... Oh no, because it's okay, because they're racist as well. So I suppose they get a pass, do they? They come over here. Oh right, they want to... Oh, okay, that's alright then. Tossers. Don't know what the group's called. Don't give a dusty fuck either. I don't have the clip, but yeah, most Brummies are sound. I'm not knocking Brummies, I'm just knocking Ryan Quick specifically. Of course, I'm friends with a good few Brummies as well. Myself, they're all sound. Yeah. Hey, they rip me for the northern accent as well, so it goes both ways. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but as I was saying, I don't have the clip because I don't think that after those two examples I could consider myself a humanitarian if I subjected you to this, which I will just now loosely describe. If you can imagine on that stage a man in a full Union Jack suit, accompanied by 3 female black backing singers, and he is quite, well, almost literally murdering, and I mean murdering, completely off-key, just the worst attempt at You'll Never Walk Alone. Of course, famously sung by Liverpool fans, of course. As far as I could tell from the clip, the backing singers were actually okay, but you can tell by their reaction that they immediately regret their involvement in this. They are literally wincing and squirming at how bad this guy is bellowing out You'll Never Walk Alone. And then in the footage, the camera the camera turns to and then zooms in on a man whom I can only describe as bearing a very close resemblance to, and I don't know if when you were a kid you saw a film called The Goonies, a character called Sloth, bearing a very close resemblance to said character, and as he attempted to sing along, however, somewhere behind, not seeming to even know the words to this famous song. But I cannot overstate just how off-key the so-called lead singer was, so I won't subject you to that one. But that was the that was the kind of thing that they were offering up. Right, yeah, I'll move on. Let's hear something much better. Jerry in the yeah. Sorry, I'm just picturing in my head how bad it was, and that's bad enough. I'm glad I didn't render the clip, to be honest. But yeah, let's have Herbie and the Supersonics instead. Let's hear it again, guys. Thank you. Incredibly poor efforts. Darren Smith, it happens to be your favourite film. Nice one. Yeah, I remember it from when I was a kid. Of course, Sean Austin, one of the main characters, went on to later star in Lord of the Rings as Samwise Gamgee, amongst other successful roles. And you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The actor who played Data has now gone on to be award-winning, Oscar-winning, I believe, director in his own right. Bit of movie trivia there on the My Left Eye Sunday live stream. But speaking of trivia and facts, these are some facts now as we go into a longer clip. That Stephen Yaxley Lennon, aka Tommy 10 Names Robinson, Tommy Where's Your Gun, etc., has been subject to an expose piece by Sangeeta Miska, if that name sounds familiar. You might remember she used to host segments of slots on LBC, but was sacked after doing a very good job at challenging an Israeli spokes on the genocide in Gaza, was immediately suspended and then later sacked, replaced by Vanessa Feltz, who will actually be coming up later in the stream. But now she currently reports for Middle East Eye, which is an excellent content provider as well. So we're going to see her report on just who is behind Stephen Yaxley Lennon, what he's all about, and specifically, more importantly, who finances him. And this is the first part of a two-part series, so do recommend going over to Middle East Eye and subscribing if you want to keep up with this story. It's more or less going to be a first-time watch for me as well, so I'm quite interested to see what Sangeeta Miska has dug up here. Let's see what's happening.
Why are America's super rich backing Tommy Robinson?
So let me ask you, where are the men from England?
Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, is the UK's best-known far-right influencer. He's attempting a glossy rebrand from fringe extremist with a criminal record to a self-styled anti-Islam citizen journalist with the ability to command large, sometimes violent crowds. That transformation is being, in part, turbocharged by millionaires and billionaires in the United States. In this two-part special, we investigate Robinson's rise and his relationship with the world's richest man, Elon Musk. But first, we reveal the conservative US pro-Israel backers boosting his operation.
We can go back to his days in the English Defence League. There was actually a kind of Jewish Defence League division within the EDL itself.
Why does Israel need a minister to combat anti-Semitism? It's literally the one problem Jews here do not have.
I would suspect of a rise in anti-Semitism as well, to a rise in Islamophobia, and to communities that should be working together, being divided and being pitted against each other, I think.
I'm Sangeeta Miska. This is The Long Story Short. Tommy Robinson's stream of consciousness was made for the digital age.
We're at the mosque here, look. The white mosque. The white mosque. Why do I find that funny?
Wherever he
'Cause you're a
goes,
knob
there's
end.
a camera nearby, creating monetized, clickable content for a global audience keen to buy his message that Islam is a danger to Britain.
More people are going to support us. People hate you. They've had enough of your lies.
Robinson's condemnation of the UK government recognising a Palestinian state has curried favour with his Israeli counterparts.
Can we take back? The British government have just turned on Israel. But
They've been turning on us for a long time.
Yeah, but when we say they, it's the British government. So let's separate the people from the establishment.
And in September 2025, Yaxley Lennon's full-throated support of Israel's war on Gaza clinched his first official invitation from Netanyahu's hard-right coalition government, despite British Jewish organisations condemning the trip and describing Robinson as a thug.
We should be very shocked that the Israeli government invited Tommy Robinson to Israel officially, but we shouldn't be surprised. Unfortunately, this is part of a long turn of the Israeli government and Israeli politics in general towards the far right, and towards using in particular Islamophobes across the European far right in particular, because they see it as serving their aims.
It was Israel's Minister for the Diaspora and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amichai Hickley, who reached out to Robinson. Hickley was himself once considered a fringe extremist, and since joining Israel's coalition government, he's made it his business to cozy up to a string of far-right politicians across Europe.
There are a few ways in which we can look at this. Technically, his title is the Minister in charge on relations with diaspora Jewry and in combating anti-Semitism. On both things, he's failing miserably. Also, why does Israel need a minister to combat anti-Semitism? It's literally the one problem Jews here do not have. This country is not anti-Semitic, and if our brothers and sisters...
Well, the ironic Zionism is anti-Semitic in a sort of very twisted, ironic sort of twist of history. But they are, you do have to say. Although that aside, in terms of the anti-Semitic attacks that are being described by other people, yes, Israel is one of the least places in the world where you'd expect that to happen. In fact, there is, widely, worldwide, barely any anti-Semitic crisis in the legitimate sense, as opposed to the anti-Zionist sense.
Who are in the diaspora need any kind of help combating anti-Semitism, then they're the one who should be leading that front and telling us how to best support them.
At a rally for Tommy Robinson in Tel Aviv that attracted about 1,000 people, Hickley doubled down on his support for the former football hooligan. The minister was interviewed by the Canadian right-wing digital channel Rebel News. More on that later.
Will support the work of Tommy, support his efforts to say the truth regarding radical Islam.
I think this government is so blinded by its own anti-Islamic propaganda and agenda, they will align themselves with anyone who will support this agenda, be it elected politician, be it people of the press, be it social media influencer, be it evangelical forces, all of those mega churches who are so dangerous when you really examine them.
Although this was Robinson's first government-backed trip, he's been trying to get himself noticed in Israel for some time. On a visit in 2016, he posted this picture of himself standing on a tank holding a machine gun in the occupied Golan Heights.
Yeah, because he doesn't have any principles. He's just, again, a complete prostitute, complete sellout, and he sell himself cheap as well to Zionists or others. He doesn't care. He really doesn't care. He's as bereft of humanity and morals as gets, as long as he can get his grubby little hands on a paycheck.
Back then, Robinson led the anti-Islam group Pegida UK, which was a branch of its curiously named German counterpart, the Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the Occident. Its ideology was almost identical to Robinson's previous far-right group, the English Defence League, which he helped found but had left 3 years earlier. The organisation's central message was that Islam posed a civilizational threat to the West.
I think for a long time, Robinson has been supportive of Israel.
Do you know what the global proportion of Muslims is, like, by percentage people? It's just over 6%. Yeah, it's just over 6%. There are a couple of million or so Muslims here in the UK in a population of 66 million as well. So to say that Islam is taking over the UK is nonsensical, as well as all of the stuff, obviously, about Sharia law in London, etc. In fact, ironically, a lot of the Magna Carta, some elements of the Magna Carta were actually based on Sharia law, but that's another historical story for another time. Point being as well, one of the other ghouls who was on stage at the demo yesterday was trying to say that they want Islam out of Parliament, out of schools, out of this and that. It's just baseless nonsense, essentially. You can't say where the so-called Islam in school is, what she means to say, but she knows she can't get away with saying it is Muslims. Yeah. But the idea that Sharia law is trying to be introduced into the country, or that somehow Islam is being, air quotes, pushed on children, all that they probably mean by that is that Islam, as well as other religions, of course, will come up during RE. And that's as far as it goes. They're pointing at shadows and ghosts and things that don't exist, problems that aren't there. They're not in possession of the facts, they're not in possession of the stats. And it's just ludicrous, nonsensical finger pointing. And again, it's an embarrassment to call these people compatriots who go on these fucking demos.
We can go back to his days in the English Defence League. There was actually a kind of Jewish Defence League division within the EDL itself. He's had a lot of kind of pro-Zionist, pro-Israel discourse in the past, but I guess this is the first time that he's been there as an official invitee, so it's quite a significant change in terms of the regime itself, maybe recognising Robinson, but Robinson also seeing Israel as kind of bulwark of the West against Islam.
Tommy Robinson insists he's never been directly funded by the State of Israel. Getting details of which organisations funded Robinson around this time are very hard to trace because, unlike political parties, protest movements like Pegida UK and the EDL are not required to declare who is donating money or resources. However, by 2019, Yaxley Lennon was distinctly flush with cash. He appeared at a Free Tommy rally in central London, flashing a new set of cap teeth, a slick new media organisation, and offering subsidised transport to his supporters. This new incarnation was in part down to 3 American business moguls, all of whom are self-declared anti-jihadists and strongly pro-Israel.
Again, extreme anti-Islamic, extreme right-wing Jews in America that are supporting a lot of extreme notions, extreme anti-Islamic notions and actions here in Israel on the ground. I am not surprised that they're also supporting anti-Islamic notions in other places in the world. Actually, if you can make it look cohesive, if you can make it look like the extreme Islamists are going after Jews everywhere in the state of Israel and in the UK and in America, then you don't have to hold the Israeli government accountable for its action, right?
There's no suggestion that Tommy Robinson's pro-Israel backers are providing the bulk of his income. Arguably, a more significant form of support comes from Elon Musk, whose role we'll explore in our next episode. However, Yaxley Lennon's pro-Israel backers have undoubtedly professionalised his activities. So, who's backing him? First, there's the tech billionaire Robert Shillman, known as Dr. Bob. According to Reuters, the Shillman Foundation has funded a number of conservative and pro-Israel groups, including the Zionist Organization of America, whose mission statement is to, quote, speak out for Israel. In 2017, The Guardian reported that Shillman had financed a fellowship for Robinson, which included a £5,000 a month salary. The fellowship led to Robinson being employed as a reporter by the Canadian digital media site Rebel News, formerly Rebel Media. That's the same right-wing outfit that filmed Robinson's official trip to Israel, thereby raising his profile and boosting his income.
I think that his image has always been tied up with this idea of being kind of a working class martyr or hero. And we see this with other populist politicians, even if they are close to very powerful people or are powerful themselves, try to kind of develop and cultivate over time. I think it was simply having those resources that gave him a new platform and a more international recognition that he was already a bit player in, but I think it just kind of catalysed that process for him.
Another player was the late conservative author and media personality David Horowitz. He was one of America's most vociferous right-wing activists. He'd previously called President Barack Obama a communist and a traitor, and condemned Democratic calls to him.
Yeah, if Barack Obama's a communist, then I'm the Aga Khan.
Impeach President Trump as treason. He founded a think tank that profiles Shillman Fellows and published articles supporting Robinson, who he described as a courageous Englishman. Its website reads, "The David Horowitz Freedom Center combats the efforts of the radical left and its Islamist allies to destroy American values and disarm this country as it attempts to defend itself in a time of terror."
Yeah, that's what I would call far right and Islamophobic, quite simply in a way. Again, you know, we can talk about Islam, we can talk about terrorism committed in the name of Islam. This is not a problem. That doesn't make you necessarily Islamophobic. But this is not what this is about. This is about tarring entire communities. This is about othering entire groups of people which are incredibly diverse and have nothing to do with the terrorism committed in the name of Islam. So I think, you know, this is where it becomes Islamophobia, and this is where it becomes far right politics.
Then there was the Philadelphia-based think tank Middle East Forum. Its mission statement is, quote, to promote American interests in the Middle East and protect the West from Middle Eastern threats. It's previously been one of Yaxley Lennon's biggest sponsors. MEF's president, Daniel Pipes, confirmed to the Times of Israel that his group has spent roughly $60,000 on 3 of Robinson's rallies and his legal fees back in 2018. Pipes described Robinson as, quote, trying to sustain his civilization.
Yeah, these links are very significant, and they are deeply worrying, because what we're seeing is like alliances that really don't seem particularly natural. This will lead to the vilification of certain communities, but it will also lead to the rise of, I would suspect, of a rise in anti-Semitism as well, to the rise in Islamophobia, and to communities that should be working together being divided and being pitted against each other. I think it's deeply, deeply troubling. And again, at the end of the day, what loses is democracy.
Robinson, Shillman, Horowitz and the Middle East Forum claim they are not anti-Muslim. Instead, they say it's their shared belief in protecting Western civilization from radical Islam that binds them all together. However, what is undeniable is that the increasingly powerful combination of Tommy Robinson's international resources, growing digital media operation, and the normalization of extreme racist rhetoric has become a potent force, the full effect of which is yet to play out on Britain's streets and at the ballot box. Join us for our next episode of Long Story Short as we investigate the rise of Tommy Robinson and why the world's richest man, Elon Musk, has become his ardent fan.
Sangeeta Meister there. Yeah, there's a link in the description if you want to go and check out more from her and Middle East Eye. Which of course I do recommend. Shout out to those of you who joined us in chats during that segment. Gunt and Pressure Drop, nice to see you. Rock, yeah, is with us as well. Solidarity, everybody. Yeah, so a right rum lot getting behind Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Still sticking with yesterday's marches now, though. Don't know if you saw this one going around your social media. This is a pic that I took at the last, I think it was the most recent, Defend Our Joyous demonstration in Trafalgar Square. You can see the guy there dressed as the Grim Reaper. There with one of my friends, Lucy. You might recognise her from some of the my JSO story videos. I've been on actions with Lucy and stuff with JSO. There she is, posing with the Grim Reaper. Now, can you believe this, people? The guy who is dressed as the Grim Reaper was on the march yesterday, and he was actually arrested. Yes, he was arrested. It's something to do with the recent legislation surrounding masks at protests, and he even offered, to remove it, but they still, of course, arrested him anyway. Ridiculous. And bearing in mind, I've seen him at quite a few demonstrations and protests and stuff. He walks around there all day without the police even speaking to him. This is whilst, of course, they're arresting the retirees and disabled amongst the Defend Our Jury supporters, and they're not even interested. But he goes to the march wearing the exact same costume today, and then this happens. Believe this? I can't hear this myself, just double check. This is ludicrous. This is insane. It's clearly, it's a laugh. It's the Grim Reaper. Don't touch him. Jesus Christ. You can hear him saying there, he'll take it off. He goes to take it off. Look at the state of that. Yeah, it's the same sign. It's Death of Britain's Integrity. I'll just get the other pick up again. Death. It's not that one. Come on, Phil. Zoom in. No, that one. That one. Sorry, I've forgotten. Corrupted by the evil Zionist lobby is what it says. But he's being arrested for the mask, not the sign, is my understanding. Yeah, like I said before, you shouldn't touch him. It's we're all dropping dead, and then he's just sort of stood there surrounded by... It's a joke, by the way, of course. It's a joke. What's happening as well? Literally.
This guy's mask off. This guy's mask off. This guy's mask off.
No, but yeah, the signs I described earlier, the people who were holding those up, those clearly offensive racist signs, weren't arrested. Ludicrous. There was someone on the far right march who was arrested at Trafalgar Square in a costume, but actually by rights because they had a sword, like not even a costume sword, an actual sword, a weapon. I'm sure that the Grim Reaper's scythe there wasn't real. But let's hope that he reaps justice soon. I really hope that the desk sergeant rejected that as soon as it came in. Looking at these guys like, what are we supposed to do next friggin' Halloween? You've arrested this guy. As did say on Brass Eye, the charges were small and twatty. Kemi Badenoch was on Trevor Phillips earlier today with her 2 cents on the marches, and yeah, get a load of this, people. It is quite detached from reality. Really can't believe that she's not also suffering similar internal crisis, given the fact that they lost another 500 seats at the last elections, the local elections. She seems to be, obviously, over-optimistic, overconfident, despite those recent results. Let's see what she had to say about this. It's a lot of drivel. It really is. Even Trevor Phillips made something of a meagre effort to try and challenge what she was saying about, you know, the general misassociations.
Would you have banned either of these marches, the Palestine Action one or the Tommy Robinson march?
So I have said that we should now start banning the pro-Palestinian marches because they are creating a climate of intimidation and fear
No, they're not.
against Jewish people.
No, they're not.
All this globalized, the Intifada and from the river to the sea nonsense is a cover for wiping out Jewish people.
No, it isn't. Your bullshit is a cover for the actual genocide of the Palestinian people. You lying piece of shit.
Pathetic!
We've seen
people on those marches who don't think that that's what they're doing.
That may be the case, but there are others who know what that's about, and it's encouraging them. We've seen...
That was as far as Trevor Phillips could push it. Yeah, there might be some people on the other side who feel differently, I think he said.
People. We've seen
people on those marches who don't think that that's what they're doing.
That may be the case.
Don't think. No, it's a matter of fact that that's not what they're doing. Trevor, can you be very clear about that? That it's an anti-genocide march?
But there are others who know what that's about, and it's encouraging them. We've seen murders at a synagogue in Heaton Park. We have seen what happened in Golders Green just a few weeks ago, 2 attempted murders.
And there were three. There were 3. Because he also stabbed a Muslim. But you want to ignore that fact, don't you? And what was the name of the guy who did the other stabbing? Moses? Oh no, sorry, that was the arson on the... what they're reporting as the former synagogue, which is actually a building owned by Muslims. Yeah, you're going to mention that, Kemi? No?
I think it's time, we should call time on that.
The Tommy Robinson march, anything on that concerned you?
So I obviously didn't go there. I think...
You didn't, so you don't know what happened? Yeah, I haven't got a clue what happened either. The internet doesn't exist, nor does the existence of mobile phone cameras, for example.
I think that it's one of those marches where there are lots of people who are going for good reasons. There's some people who are going for not very good reasons. But it's a different kind of thing.
There were signs that said, "Fuck Islam" and "Christ is King." There were cellists with streaks of bacon on the fucking shoulders, and there were a trio of so-called singers who went out wearing hijabs.
They are talking about uniting the kingdom. The other march is about something happening...
They are talking about uniting the kingdom. So, what does that mean? What sort of excuses is that?
Much further away, about pro-Palestine. It's been going on weekly for much longer.
Are you sure you're not applying some double standards here?
No, what I'm not...
Pains me to disagree with you, Trevor, but I think that she is. In fact, I'd bet my bollocks that she is.
What I'm not doing is spending
Damn
time
right!
focusing on the things that don't matter to the people of this country. There are people in this country who are worried about energy. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. They don't know if they're going to be able to keep their house. We've got a government that is spending all its time focused on itself rather than the issues that are in the country. And these marches, in my view, are not the number one thing that's on the minds of your viewers.
One quick thing about
the cost of living.
What, if the population isn't concerned, then why do 250,000 people show up? Why do numbers often exceed that, more than 500,000, between 500,000 and 1 million people on the Palestine marches? Because they don't want our country to be complicit in a genocide. That's why. Yeah, 500 seats down. Kemi Badenoch. Clear to see why. God, she's absolutely awful. Yeah. Her and Starmer soon out the door. Right. Right, what's next? Go with people. Yeah, we're good. We're good now, I think. Bilderberg, good evening. What's next? Yeah, of course, despite what Kemi Badenoch... Oh, not that one. What Kemi Badenoch said there. Yep, the march was well attended, once again with a huge Jewish bloc for Palestine, as you can see there. Hundreds of thousands of people in the bloc that Kemi Badenoch would like to ignore. And once again, you can see marching past Harrods, which I was in fairly recently. Take back power. Yeah, but these people don't exist according to Kemi Badenoch. Well done again to the Jewish anti-Zionist bloc. And I'm going to round off the marches on a high, on a positive, with one of the excellent speakers who were out. This is Lindsay German, who I think sums up the whole thing very succinctly, so I'm going to enjoy this clip. This is, yeah, Lindsay German.
Thanks very much, everybody, for being here. I'd like you to just look around at your neighbours here this afternoon on this demonstration. I'd like you to look at the diversity, at the different nationalities, at the different religions that are here. Then I would like to ask you whether you think this looks like a hate march. Because we are the exact opposite of hate marches, despite what has been said by the police, by Keir Starmer, by the politicians and by the media. Everybody is here today because they oppose hate, they oppose war, they oppose genocide, they oppose what is being done to the people of Palestine. And we are here today in solidarity with the people of Palestine because it is still going on. Gaza was bombed last night. Lebanon was bombed last night. There is no ceasefire and no justice for the Palestinians. And if you want to see what a real hate march looks like, just look over St James's Park to Parliament Square. That's a hate march. They hate Muslims. They hate people from abroad. They hate migrants. They hate women. They hate absolutely anybody who isn't like them. They are the real hate marchers, and we are here today to say we stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, but also against any form of racism and fascism of the sort that Tommy Robinson stands for. And one of the most shocking things about all this is the way the police have been criminalising our marches, the way they have been arresting people, the way they try to ban slogans, the way in which they say that people are not allowed to stand up for the Palestinians. And I've got a message for Mark Rowley and the Metropolitan Police. Do not start telling us what racism looks like. We know what racism looks like, and we know it much better than the Metropolitan Police know what it looks like. My final point is this. Keir Starmer is toast. He's not going to last until the autumn, and nor should he. And one of the main reasons he's toast is because of his foreign policy, because of his support for the genocide, because of all those sorts of things. But do not think that whoever takes his place, they need to change their foreign policy. We have a big political crisis in this country. We do not want to have to pay for their crisis. We do not want to have to pay for their increased defence we do not want to have to pay with working class people getting worse and worse off while they and the millionaires and the billionaires get all the money. So we are saying, not just to Keir Starmer, but to the Labour government, you better change course on all of these things. And we have. We know they don't want any criticism from Israel, that's why they're doing this. That's why they're allowing Tommy Robinson to march. We're not going to let them make us pay for this. And on the 20th of June, next big date for your diary, there's going to be thousands of people at an international anti-war conference here in central London. Make sure you come to that, because we need not just a solidarity movement here, we need international solidarity, and we need an international movement against war. So thanks all for coming. I would just like to say one final word, which is I would send my solidarity as well to Ben Jamal, many of you know. I would just like to echo Fran Heathcote's point. He's had to resign for personal reasons as director of PSC. Ben has been an absolute stalwart of this movement. Every good wish to him and his family, and we are going to continue. He always said, we will not stop, and we will not stop. We will carry on. Thank you very much.
Lindsay German, her excellent speech. Yeah, and you were stood just to the side of the stage, were you, Graham? That's excellent. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, right up at the front of the action. Of course, that's where we expect viewers of My Left Eye to be, of course. We're never shy of getting in the nitty-gritty of things ourselves. Oh, you were just out of shot. Oh, we could have, yeah. You could have had your 7 minutes of fame there, Graham. Sorry I couldn't facilitate that. I didn't film that, by the way. Yeah. Like I said, we weren't there. But well done for attending. And to everybody else, any other viewers who attended, I know that several friends of the channel, in fact, were there. So if you are watching back later on, well done. Solidarity. Might see you on the next one. But if not, I'll see you at some other event, I'm certain. JK, yeah, you know that Streeting and Rayner have been taking money from Israel. But what about Burnham? All will be revealed about that, as well as quite a few other things that people seem to be overlooking about the Manchester Mayor in their excitement in this leadership challenge and the by-election that is going to precede it. But there is definitely going to be a challenge. Because Wes Streeting has said that he'll throw his hat into the ring. Not much of a choice, is it, between Streeting or Starmer? I'll go through all of that, but we do now officially have a fresh new hot seat on the channel. Not that it's been very long since the last one, but we are obliged, of course, to bring back this popular feature. Yeah, so let's get on with it.
On with it. Yes, get on with it. Get on with it.
Sing along if you want. Hot seats. Here we go. Yes, here we are once again. Another hot seat is upon us. Just one this time, as it's a by-election. And not the plethora that we've just had in the local Senedd and Holyrood. That were, of course, very recent and the trigger of Starmer's most recent lap of demise. Yeah, so as I was saying about Wes Streeting throwing his hat into the ring, this seems to have been a strategic move for a couple of reasons. Yeah, we thought he chickened out at first, but it seems that he was waiting for the NEC's response as to whether they would or wouldn't allow Burnham to stand. So it does appear that in putting his name forward, that Wesley expects Burnham to lose, probably to reform in his mind, and then he'll be the front runner by default so far, because he's the only person who has now legitimately challenged him. But looking at his favourability, yeah, he seems to be very over-optimistic. The word on the street certainly isn't Wes Streeting. People aren't calling for him to replace Starmer. And just look at this, only a 17% favourability rating versus 39% against. So I think Wes Streeting is more or less the only person who fancies Wes Streeting's chances. He is, of course, he would be up against Starmer, the least popular Prime Minister. But most people would see that as a like-for-like swap. However, as well as I said, it's not a completely cunning move, but just the hesitancy in his announcement. He's also twinned that with a very clear announcement that he wants to rejoin the EU wholesale. He's not tiptoeing around the edges like Starmer's been saying recently, with phrases like closer ties, closer relationship to Europe. He is being very clear at wanting to win back Lib Dem centrist votes, I guess, in being very open about those intentions. And he believes, I do think myself, he might be somewhat disillusioned in thinking that that'll get him through, that'll get him enough votes. He seems to think he has the 81 signatures to back him that will be required. Of course, this system, for anyone who's wondering, is a different system than the Conservative Party used, the 1922 committee. Don't come into this, that's a Tory party thing. The rules as it is under the Labour Party, yeah, you need 20%, which will be 81 signatures, 20% of MPs. Pressure drop, yeah, he gives you Tory vibes, he gives me Tory vibes, more of the same. Yeah, he's taken a lot of money from private NHS firms. Of course, we've raised that several times on the channel before. He isn't any sort of socialist alternative to Starmer, that's for sure. Wes Streeting, what am I like? Yeah, anyone who's going to fall for that needs to take a good look at themselves. But of course, this all came about when Josh Simons stood down, and you really have to ask yourself, if Andy Burnham is some sort of socialist alternative as well, then why would someone from Labour Together, someone who is, you know, typical neo-lib Tory, trying to use the Labour Party to better their own career, is that classic example. Why would they step down and make way for someone progressive? someone who does want to rejoin the EU, nationalise public services, for example, and bring in proportional representation as an alternative voting system to the first past the post that we have now. Why? Why would someone like that do this? I guess the answer is because they're not. Because that's not what Andy Burnham's about. This is what Josh Simons is all about. And when you see this, then it becomes obvious why he's making way for Andy Burnham, because he expects to get his kind of politics, but to get it in power quicker, just by reputation, because so many deluded people still see Burnham as the golden boy or saviour of British politics. Definitely where Labour's concerned. But yeah, this is what Josh Simons is all about. Check this out, people.
Keir had to win. That was the most important thing. And if in the Labour Party you win the leadership of the Labour Party, you quite quickly run the whole thing. You can take all the reins and you can take control over the whole institution, and you can frankly smash the institution to pieces and rebuild it again. And that is what he did. And in order to do that, in order to do what he's done in a very, very short space of time.
Yes, Andy is speaking at a Jewish Chronicle event, no less, talking about how you destroy the Labour Party and take it over like Keir Starmer did, openly gloating about what Keir Starmer did to the Labour Party as well, fully endorsing it as a tactic. And why would someone like this want to step down to let Andy Burnham in? I wonder.
He had to be smart and strategic, as you always are in American politics. You start from the left and you tack to the centre. That's how you win. Politics is about power. It's an all or nothing game. Keir had to win.
That last part, particularly important there. You pretend to be on the left and then you take it to the so-called centre, which of course we all know there is no centre, no moderate ground, as it were. That is just neoliberalism. It's people on the right who don't want to say that they're on the right. They've tried to invent this new term, which is centrism, and it's a load of fucking bullshit. But that is the
Smart
tactic.
and strategic, as you always are in American politics. You start from the left and
You start from the left and you tack to the centre, which means you tack to the right. Politics is about power. It's an all or nothing game. So why are you stepping down for a progressive lefty who isn't going to tack to the centre as you describe it, Josh? Well, let's see. Because one of the things I brought up there was proportional representation, which of course we know would be a far more representative form of voting. Certainly more preferable than first past the post that we've got at the moment. This was put to Burnham in a recent interview, and, well, really is a giveaway. Check this out. He doesn't want PR. He's essentially trying to push a revised version of AV, on which there was a referendum for in, 21 years ago, 2005, I believe that was. It didn't get through, obviously. That's why we still have first past the post. But his suggestion is this top-up voting system known as second vote, or what he describes as second vote, which is very derived from the one that we had the referendum on in 2005. But the point is, it's a far cry from PR in terms of how votes are counted.
I stood for Westminster 4 times under the first past the post system, and then in 2017, when I stood for the first time to be Mayor of Greater Manchester under a proportional system, I realised that you had an incentive to knock on every door, because you might be able to get a second preference from somebody who was a Lib Dem voter or a Green. And I used to say to them, oh, well, okay, if you support...
Second preference? Well, you don't have that. You don't have that with PR. Essentially, by percentage, by fraction, the number of seats that you get in Parliament is more proportionate to the number of votes that you get as a vote share. I could go into more of the ins and outs of it in terms of how demographics are better represented, etc. The sort of demographic map of the UK matches the demographic map of Parliament a lot more under PR. But he's gone on to tell a story, apparently from when he was canvassing, where he's had this revelation that he's not actually going to go through with PR and going to do this secondary vote.
Regulation of the buses, maybe you could consider giving me a second preference. And the thing about that was, it finally aligned the conversation on the doorstep with what people want from politics, which is about problem solving first and foremost, not point scoring.
No, they want PR. People have been banging on about PR, not secondary voting or top-up voting, alternative voting. PR. You see it all over your social media, whatnot. It is probably what comes up on the doorsteps. And, you know, second, if not equal to, the Citizens' Assembly, People's House, it is the more popular version of democracy currently amongst the population. So for him to just throw that aside and start to bang on about a secondary vote is, I think, well, very telling.
Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about.
And, you know, for me, you know, building a different political conversation in the country, then allow...
I didn't add these little bits on the side. Apologies, I don't know who the original uploader was. I got this from a repost of a repost, I think. But it says this entire exchange is extremely vague and suggests that Burnham's vision of, quote, electoral reform amounts to adding a second preference option. Just re-emphasises that is not PR.
Allows us to start thinking of different long-term solutions. I think Westminster politics has served people very badly indeed.
Hello, Control. Yes, Control here. Is a secondary vote a PR? No, it is not a PR.
Are we talking about electoral reform here?
I support it, and I think it brings a different...
So ditching first past the post for a new system.
Conversation.
Okay.
And look, but that, to then go on to answer your question...
The amount of times we hear that vague one, to start a conversation about... God. What, just to drag it out and then ditch the idea? This is when a perfectly sound idea is put to them, but they know that they're never going to go through with it. So, well, you know, we might perhaps... And they don't even say start a conversation. Look at starting a conversation about means either just a straight up no, or they'll kick the can down the road until they're just done with it.
Would require it to be in a manifesto and endorsed at a general election. I stood for...
Just again, the last part, so he's definitely not going, even if he... Again, ifs and buts, very hypothetically, wins the Makerfield by-election, challenges Keir Starmer, wins the leadership challenge, and then implements a policy which changes the voting system. It is not going to be PR before 2029 because, yeah, he says it's got to be in a manifesto. He's not going to do that. Andy Burnham is not your vehicle for that. So if you're watching, you know, not certain if too many are, but yeah. Same goes with rejoining the EU as well. We've got a piece from the Canary here as well. That's also really telling. But already he's dodging questions, not ticking the boxes. Those are the main three things that people cite for wanting to get behind Andy Burnham. Is they think that he does want to rejoin the EU wholesale, outright, you know, single market customs union. He doesn't. They think that he wants to renationalise utilities and the railways. He doesn't. He doesn't talk, again, being very spurious in the language that he uses in denying that. Yeah, and the alternative voting system, as we saw just there. But here's a bit more from the Canary about what Burnham's really about.
The frantic backstabbing, the midnight briefings, the corporate glad-handing, the cynical careerism. While Westminster eats itself alive over who gets to wear the crown, the underlying machinery remains completely untouched. West Streeting isn't looking for a new job. He's auditioning for the bosses as Peter Mandelson's ultimate favourite candidate. First, it's the backdoor integration of Silicon Valley's Palantir into our NHS data systems. Next, it's a sudden pivot back to the EU trading bloc to placate city traders. He's openly signalling exactly which corporate boardrooms he intends to serve. And then there's Andy Burnham. The headlines tell us the bond markets are terrified of him. But look beneath the surface. The markets are panicking over his shadow. Burnham isn't making a single bold promise to challenge them. And he knows exactly how the game is played. Remember, this is a man who's moulded by the architecture of New Labour. As Health Secretary and Shadow Health Secretary, he was ideologically bound to the Private Finance Initiative, an initiative that opened up our public infrastructure to private capital. Private capital was already draining the service when Andrew Lansley's destructive Health and Social Care Act of 2012 was put through Parliament. So when those market bills were tearing through the Commons, Burnham didn't use his platform to stop the rot.
Nope.
He managed the decline. By refusing to back proportional representation now, his so-called Manchesterism is revealed as a complete paper tiger. He wasn't bold enough to call out privatisation at the national level when he actually had the power to do it. So why should anyone believe his localised posturing here and now? They aren't fighting to change the system for the people. They're fighting to change the people for the system.
Well put, great little report there from the Canary. Go and check them out. Yeah, as well as we know that he voted for the illegal invasion of Iraq. He voted for austerity policies. A myriad of things. This guy really is a wolf in sheep's clothing as far as I'm concerned. Like Starmer, it wants to drag us back to 2020. Try and put on a very thin veil of socialism as a mask, and then yeah, it won't be too long before they get found out. But don't get duped, don't get fished in, don't get suckered, people. This guy is perhaps not what the Mirror and other mainstream outlets might be describing him as. He's not a saviour. Lewis Goodall from LBC also has his reservations, which I generally agree on. I make one or two slight corrections as we go through, but yeah, just play this one as well. He does make some good points.
Make no mistake, if Andy Burnham is able to run and win in Makerfield, a seat which is a central building block of the Red Wall, overwhelmingly...
Yeah, that was it. There is no Red Wall anymore. It's just a minor point. I know, sorry, I'm being a bit of a political nerd in pointing that out, but safe seats, Red Wall. This is Keir Starmer now, who is the cement that holds the wall together and is, yeah, very ineffective, especially after the local elections now. There's no Red Wall, there's no safe seats. Anywhere could go potentially green, unfortunately potentially teal, but anywhere that's red isn't safe anymore. We have to do away with that illusion. That's more of a 20th century politics thing. I think now in the 2020s we're going to start to define what's going to happen for at least the next few decades, perhaps until the end of the century in terms of voter preference.
White, older, non-graduates, Brexit voting, the sort of place on which the Labour Party was built, but also the sort of place where politically, culturally, socially, demographically, the Labour Party has been drifting and drifting and drifting away. If Andy Burnham can win there and see off Nigel Farage, he will be treated as the Labour Party's salvation. But
yeah, before he comes in with the but, Burnham's fighting such an uphill battle here. I won't pull up all of the stats that we've been through on recent live streams around the local election results in the Northwest, in Wigan specifically. Labour had 22 council seats up for grabs and lost all 22 to Reform, who picked up 24 in total. I think they got another couple from the Tories there as well. The Greens didn't have a candidate, but they will be putting up a candidate in this by-election, which I'll go into after Lewis Goodall makes his point here.
he's got to win it first, and he might not. Is West Streeting a bit thick? Is he the only person in history to want to get elected and is yet waiting for someone to come along who can definitely beat him first? No. Streeting is wily and clever. He's playing the good soldier, the good comrade, in the knowledge that Burnham's victory in Makerfield is not assured. He is preparing for a contest without him, and is calling for us to rejoin the EU. He's not thinking about any constituency, certainly not Makerfield, but Labour Party members on whom that leadership contest will rest. Because if Burnham does not win in Makerfield, the leadership contest, which would come, and it would be no coronation. It would be conducted in fear and loathing, overwhelmed by panic. If even Burnham, Mr. Manchester himself, cannot win in the Red Wall, who can? It will be civil war.
Yeah, there's a lot of presumptions being made about Burnham's efficacy, going back as well to the point that a lot of voters in Makerfield might be particularly insulted by the presumption that they're just going to all block towards Burnham. Although current polling suggests he does have a stronger favourability than his predecessor, Josh Simons. But Streeting certainly got his eggs all in one basket. Meanwhile, Angela Rayner still bides her time. Yeah, more to come here in terms of opinion. Just the last bit on this episode of Hot Seats. I meant to play this on an earlier stream. Unfortunately ran out of time, but we are going to now enjoy this because I've not seen the full thing. Oh, actually, just speaking of full things, I knew I had to remind myself of something. Yeah, you might have heard this term Manchesterism going around with Andy Burnham's leadership bid. Brought this up quite a bit, I think, in the full version of that ITV interview, which I haven't seen myself. But you can take it from me that it's a load of bollocks. Yes, we do have a very unique and diverse culture here in Manchester. But this concept of Manchesterism politically isn't really a thing. You know, we are very out and proud socialists. We don't describe ourselves as Manchesterists. You know, we have a good sense of community and everything here. That is, of course, represented by the B symbol following the tragic incident at the MEN Arena. But Manchesterism as a phrase is not something that you hear out on the streets. That, you know, it's not a colloquial term. Round our way, wanted to quickly point that out. But yeah, here's an extended interview with Corbyn, and it is good now to hear him talk more about what happened, how he got fucked over by Keir Starmer and other people in the Labour Party when he was leader, not once but twice, of course. He was re-elected as party leader with an even bigger majority than the first time, and then there was the 2019 coup, of course. Yeah, which is still pretty painful, still hurts, you have to admit, but you get some satisfaction at least out of seeing Corbyn giving it what for, now that he's not even a party member anymore. And this is with Politics Joe, so shout out to Politics Joe.
It's a coup that's been mounted against Starmer, and he should know about them because he was there when the coup was mounted against me. If Starmer decides to contest the leadership between him and Streeting, it will be a pretty poor choice. I think the Labour Party's ship has frankly sailed. I'm sad to say that, but I do.
Jeremy Corbyn, we are looking at potentially the fall of Keir Starmer. This must be very upsetting for you, as he was your... I can't even say it seriously.
It is desperately upsetting for me, but I'm coping.
He was your protege, no? He ran on a ticket that was Corbyn politics, and they have been proven not to work, apparently.
Well, he claimed to be following the policies that we'd put into the two manifestos of 17 and 19, and he rather bizarrely claimed that I was one of his best friends. It was, I must say, it was news to me, and it was news to all of my other friends, but there you go. We always allow a bit of imagination in politics, don't we? And the real issue is that his government has not delivered on working class living standards. It has not delivered on public ownership of water and key services like that. And even the...
No, come on, Jeremy. You know I've got a trigger complex from that word. Please.
Rail public ownership is a pretty botched affair. And it's also pursued international policies that are catastrophic and devastating, including supplying the weapons to enable Israel's genocide against the Palestinians.
And that's something you're going to raise later, isn't it, in a speech?
Strange edit
so I'll
there.
come back to it. But just sticking on Starmer, do you think that it's Starmerism and the politics that this Labour Party has pursued that has failed? Or do you think it is him as a person? Do you think it's personality?
Yeah, I would have used the term Starmerite before myself, I guess. It's just that it is more of a general continuation of what Tony Blair was about, and then, of course, Thatcherism. Neoliberalism is sort of the root of it all.
I think it is largely the policies, but it is partly the personality, because he's somebody that seems uncomfortable talking to the public, uncomfortable doing open-air public meetings in town centres and things. In fact, I can't remember him ever doing one. It is the politics of management.
It's like there's an air raid siren in the background. Not here, it's on the clip.
With an agenda which
panic.
is simply a managerial agenda. And it doesn't work, because it doesn't excite or enthuse anybody. And even when the government does something broadly right, like bring in the renters bill, it misses the whole point behind it, which is rent control as well as protection of tenants. Of course I agree with protection of tenants, but if you don't control the level of rent that's paid, you're not actually really helping them in the living standards crisis that they're going through.
Looking at what could potentially happen tomorrow, if we work on the hypothetical that Wes Streeting is going to launch a challenge to Keir Starmer, and we again work on the hypothetical that he will be coronated because there may not be a challenger.
Coronated.
Do you think his politics could turn the party around, or do you think that could be
Sorry, I'm not taking the piss out of the interviewer or anything.
another death knell for the Labour Party?
Well, it's a coup that's been mounted against Starmer, and he should know about them because he was there when the coup was mounted against me. Our response in 2016 was to say, OK, let's have a leadership contest. And we went out, campaigned all over the country, and won with more votes than we'd won with the year before. I don't think he's going to do that at all. If Starmer decides to contest the leadership between...
Yeah, he said in another interview that he'd been in a meeting with Keir Starmer, other people were involved, and it was just awful. There was a huge row, and then he came outside Parliament, and there were sort of 10,000 people there shouting support for him. The media, of course, reported the opposite, saying that they were baying for blood or whatever. Yeah, complete propaganda. I just remember him bringing that up in another recent interview.
Him and Streeting, it will be a pretty poor choice of politics. Either you've got the politics of allowing Palantir and the private sector into the NHS, or the politics of the managerialism of Starmer. It won't be a very exciting leadership contest. I think it's all conjecture at this stage. We don't even know what Streeting's going to do. Maybe he hasn't decided himself. If he decides to run, then it could be that Starmer will just say, OK, that's it, I'm off. I don't know. I can't really tell.
This was from earlier in the week, of course, before Streeting, that is, Wes Streeting, you know who I'm talking about. He decided...
He's an asshole, sir.
Yes, that's him. Yeah, decided to announce his bid.
But it's not as if the public are going to be involved in this. This will be a vote of Labour members. And it is really a bit odd, isn't it, that less than 2 years into a government that came in with a huge parliamentary majority, albeit on a very low vote, that the whole thing has collapsed now, less than 2 years, less than 2 years in, when the opportunities they had and still have to do so much is good. And today, the King's speech is full of caveats and vagaries. So it doesn't say, for example, that the water companies are going to be taken to task and dealt with. It says there's going to be yet another round of regulation. Well, we've had 30 years of regulation, and we've had an increasing level of sewage in our rivers and streams ever since. We need public ownership, we need public control of the water industry, as well as others.
And that's what you would have pursued?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Public ownership of rail, mail, water as a start, because they ought to be in public hands.
Do you think that Labour has a fundamental issue because of the way in which it has contributed to the Israel-Gaza war? Do you think that people who are standing in the Parliamentary Labour Party, do you think they are all tainted in the public view?
All those that have defended the government's policy on the sale of arms, on not calling for a ceasefire, are actually tainted. As you remember, we did a Gaza tribunal through the Peace and Justice Project. We had 29 expert witnesses, and it's coming out as a book in the very near future, all of the evidence on that. And it is very clear that the government not only supplied arms to Israel, allowed arms to be supplied to Israel, knew full well what was going on, and the RAF overflying of Gaza in order to pick up information must have been witnesses to the destruction of schools and hospitals and civilian life. 74,000 people have been killed. And I think forever this will be hung around the necks of this government.
That's people that they've been able to count. Yeah, that doesn't include people under the rubble, of course. It probably goes well over 100,000, unfortunately.
And you're going to raise that again today in your King's speech?
I never stop raising it because I'm so disgusted at the way in which the Palestinian people have been shortchanged for so long. We're going back all of my lifetime, the Palestinian people have been shortchanged. And we have to keep on speaking up for the Palestinian people, because very few governments anywhere around the world are really, really speaking up and defending the Palestinian people. Only the Hague Group of Nations are actually trying to do anything at the UN.
The prospect of Andy Burnham returning to Parliament, again a hypothetical because he does not have a seat, is that a Labour Party leader you could endorse or support?
Obviously, if Andy decides to run for the leadership of the party, he's got a number of hurdles to get over. One is to find a constituency where there's a vacancy that he can run in. And secondly, to be elected, because the Labour brand did spectacularly badly a week ago. Now, I worked with Andy in the shadow cabinet. He didn't take part in the coup. He then left the shadow cabinet in order to run for Mayor of Manchester, and I think he's a Greater Manchester Mayor.
Well, he stood against you in the leadership race, which you won significantly the first and the second time, of course.
He's done a good job, particularly on the buses and public transport. However, I have noticed that of late Andy's economic strategy isn't particularly radical, and indeed his suggestion that there should be private finance borrowing.
He is saying in the nicest way possible that he just isn't with it, that he just isn't a proper, genuine socialist with the kind of radical policies that we need to transform this country. He's deliberately dragging his feet on a lot of issues and needs to get with it.
In order to pay for defence increases fills me with horror. It's almost as bad as a PFI in the health service, that we would end up allowing the private sector to be involved in the running of our defence industries with an inbuilt demand to spend more and more. And this is where the government's failure to produce any kind of international strategy for peace. I'm not here to defend Russia in Ukraine, but I am here to call for peace in Ukraine, as I would call for peace in other wars. You don't achieve that by just endlessly raising defence expenditure. You do it by a real diplomatic determination to bring about a peace process. Starmer has done none of that, and neither of his foreign secretaries have done anything in that direction at all.
I just want to ask you finally, you are a Labour man, really. You've been a Labour politician for the majority of your life.
I joined the Labour Party when I was 16.
Well, it's
odd thing to do
now.
for
It's, Labour in name only. They destroyed the vehicle that was the Labour Party, that is Starmer and all the other people who launched the coup against Corbyn. They absolutely destroyed the vehicle almost but then just managed to get it over the line of winning an election, but now it doesn't go anywhere because it's just ruined, and now they're wondering why they can't get any fucking place. Because they did it unto themselves. All of the saboteurs. And this man will still be in Parliament when Keir Starmer will not.
16-year-old in Shropshire, but I did.
So only 10 years then. If there was a chance to bring the Labour Party back into a socialist control, would you consider rejoining the Labour Party?
I don't see any chance of that happening. I think the Labour Party's
Never.
ship has frankly sailed.
Never.
I'm sad to say that, but I do. The numbers of people that joined during my leadership.
Yeah, I don't know why there's an air raid siren going off occasionally in the background of the clip. Don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was. I don't think it was a Russian invasion on the day of the King's speech when this was recorded. We might have heard about it by now. It would have been all that we'd have heard about the last week.
Most of whom were either expelled or left the party. The policies being pursued are weak, to put it mildly, and the numbers of people active in the Labour Party is minuscule all over the country. And what I noticed last week in the elections, and I did a lot of travelling around the country in the local elections, I was supporting independent candidates and different groups like Aspire in Tower Hamlets, Redbridge Independents, Blackburn
Rubbing it in as well now, of course.
and so on. What I noticed
members.
Amongst the public was a clear division.
Tens of thousands of canvassers.
Those that were susceptible to the message of reform were susceptible to the message of the simplicity and the danger of Farage's message, which is basically you blame all minorities for every problem we've got. It's nonsense. He knows it's nonsense, but it's very dangerous nonsense. And the others were just looking for alternatives. They're voting independent, voting Green, or whatever. And they didn't see in Labour any way forward. What I noticed amongst some of the older voters, if you like, very traditional Labour voters, they said, well, I can't change the habits of a lifetime. And I would say, well, why? They said, well,
Yeah.
I've always done that.
Yeah.
And some said, I was happy to vote Labour when you were leader, but not anymore.
You had a number of victories during the local elections.
And the results were mixed all over the country, as ever. But I think the way in which the independent candidates in the East End of London, in New...
It's that thing about the sort of habitual Labour voters who, in some cases, did it for many decades. You hear a lot of that, and people pointed out, now that they're abandoning Labour, just how long they were under Corbyn and all of his predecessors as well. better or worse. But no, yeah, that really has gone as far as it can. There's no way back for the party.
I'm in Redbridge and particularly in Tower Hamlets. In a sense, we're actually very much traditional Labour platform. Build council houses, better administration, and in the case of Tower Hamlets, student bursaries, free school meals for secondary school children.
Also, Tower Hamlets, of course, in the recent local elections was held by Aspire. So, yeah, Aspire.
Despite everything, they managed to build 20 youth centres when all their neighbouring councils were closing youth centres. I say well done, Tower Hamlets.
Do you think that West Streeting's constituency in Ilford, do you think that could go to an independent at the next election?
Very likely to, yeah. I spent quite a bit of time in Redbridge last week and the week before. I went, I think, 5 times to Redbridge over the last few weeks and spoke to a lot of people there. And Streeting managed to creep through by 500 votes against Liane Mohammed.
Yeah.
I would have thought it must be a huge risk for him. And I certainly didn't detect any great popularity for him at all.
Yeah, I pointed out the favourability of potential leaders earlier. That statistic, of course, still looms large over Streeting's head, doesn't it? That he barely fell over the line. Just 500 votes in front of independent candidate Liane Mohammed. And if you had another by-election next Thursday, it'd be safe to say that Streeting would lose his seat. He really is being over-optimistic in getting involved in this race.
To be popular as leader?
He is trained in the dark arts of student politics. And I think about the last thing this country needs is student politics running it.
Was that a bit of a joke at the end? Bit of a dig at the old student politics jibe that comes from the right? Anyway, yeah, go and check out more from Politics Joe. First time watch for me. That one. Thanks for all your points in the chats. During that, didn't have time to respond to all of them. Yeah, about the hot seat in Makerfield. But that's it. Yeah, there'll be sporadic updates as we get them from this new hot seat, the one to watch. Here in the Northwest, another one in the Northwest, which is kind of good for us, I guess, on my left eye. But yeah, till the next update, that will be it from Hot Seats. To skip the intro, or so the outro as it is. Yeah, just to quickly point out, obviously there was a lot in the news about the marches here in the UK over the weekend. But over in Italy, in fact, all throughout this week, there's been a huge general strike, as you can see here. Different sirens you can hear, not the air raid sirens that we had on the last clip, which yes, you do hear after hypersonic missile hits the targets, as JK points out. But anyway, in Italy, things have been completely shut down in the general strike. Cities all across the nation's 20 regions. Yeah, in Rome, Naples, Florence, Milan, you name it, from north to south, general strike throughout the whole country. And of course that's accompanied by these demonstrations which were met with police resistance. As you can see in these scenes, people kicking back tear gas canisters and so on. But it has been effective. It's ground the country to a halt, and that is how you do it if you want collective control. Really, you know, it's all got to be done simultaneously, on force, en masse, and with great organisation and solidarity as well. So well done, Italy. That is how you demonstrate who truly runs the country, and whether you're demonstrating against wealth inequality, human rights, combinations of whatever it might be about. This is how you get things done. This is how workers got the rights that we have and have to sustain and fight for today, as well as fighting for more equality. Well done. Solidarity to our brothers and sisters in Italy. E fratelli e sorelle in Italia. Molto bene. You can see these further scenes here. It's kind of kicking off a bit. I'm not certain which building this is. I'm not sure where it is, but obviously I don't know, they're trying to break in there or something. So I've got a ladder now. There's a ladder. We've got ladders. It looks like they've not bothered with the ladder. Don't know what the significance of this building that they're targeting is. Apologies. But quite incredible scenes from Italy. Not certain which city this is in, but like I said, across all 20 regions in Italy, these scenes have been taking place in the general strike. Can't they just ring the bell? Talk. I think it might be broken from... Wait, guys! Guys, there's a bell! Oh shit. Did nobody try the bell? No, seriously though. Yeah, huge demos there. Let's not... How you think about that in the chat? But there is more and more social unrest everywhere, yeah, as you say there, Graham. Neoliberalism is coming to a conclusion. It's late-stage capitalism as well, isn't it? You're not sure where we will end up. Well, let's stay optimistic. Let's say stay positive, people. Hopefully, it will end up on the side of the majority class, that is us. Change is definitely coming though, that's for certain. Stay positive. You're positive, aren't you, Alan?
Jurassic Park.
And he's feeling good. Okay, good people. Well, we've been on stream for 2.5 hours now. Goodness. Almost. We'll be diving back into the Fondue Lounge in a moment or two, but of course, another shout out to all of the marvellous members that we have on the channel. Thanks for your contributions on stream tonight as well. It's great to see people celebrating month anniversaries as well, as always on stream. Thanks for sticking with us. Don't forget all the usual channels are open. Super chats, stickers and thanks, the Buy Me a Coffee page, etc. Please do check them out. Another reminder, check out the latest vid on the channel, and if you're watching on a mobile device, hit thumbs up and you can gift us some of your hype points completely free. They renew every week, so yeah, please do check that out. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, are we ready for a second portion? Yeah, I'll be getting a raid lined up once we get into the lounge, and yeah, that'll be it from Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics. Thanks again, guys, for the background jazz. Okay, time for another quick visit. Yeah, just scoff as much as you can very quickly, people, because I will be bringing the poll to a close. Let's see what the results are. It appears that most of you think that if selected, Andy Burnham will win the Makerfield by-election. 24% think the Reform PLC candidates, 20% think the Green candidates, 0 votes for Restore. There will be other similar polls as we get closer to the by-election itself, not just on YouTube but on various social media platforms. So we'll be doing a sort of amalgamated poll of those as we get closer. It's looking likely that it will be sometime towards the end of June, so plenty of time between now and then as things change to pick up the latest on public opinion. But thanks for your votes, for those of you who voted in the poll. Just quickly see who we can raid into. So I'll remind you, of course, we'll be back next week with the Brews at 10 live streams. Hopefully more videos. Yeah, so hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future content. Okay, awesome stuff. We're going to be raiding into Kevin Logan, another great socialist content provider. Yeah, not sure if he's with Helena from No Justice as usual on Sunday. They do go through Laura Kussenberg and loads of other things, but we'll see what's happening. Don't forget to drop a thumbs up when we get over there. Just time to thank Graham Turner for that super chat as well. Nice Christy Moore quote there. Courage was their armour as they fought by Fidel's side with Che Guevara. Solidarity for that super chat. Nice quote there. Let's please big up Graham in the chat, everybody. We're all set to go for the raid, so we'll be joining Kevin just a few moments. Stick around for post Fondue Lounge shenanigans before we raid in. I've been your humble host, Lefty. This has been the Sunday live stream on my left eye. Happy Socialist Sunday, comrades. To everybody who's watching, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, they, thems and comrades alike. Over to the people, pre-Palestine, Sudan, Lebanon and Yemen. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Don't watch the news, be the news. My left eye, I'll be seeing you soon. Good night.
It's what Hitler and Goering did, and it is textbook. And if you think the next time it happens, we're gonna recognize it because they're wearing scary uniforms, you're out of your damn mind.